no. This movie does not deserve my red carpet treatment. It doesn't even deserve to be a vaulting episode at all. I didn't even want to review this movie in the first place. But oh, the pickle I am in leaves me no choice. Sure, I tried my best. Tried to do as best as I can. Hell, I wanted to get the original robot blueprints up. Unfortunately, the lighting of the room sucks. You know what? The movie's awful anyway, so what's the point? The memory that is connected to this is so terrible. I don't even want to mention it. I don't even want to speak about it. But oh, because of the problems, I have no choice but to talk about it. I have absolutely no choice but to ventilate every little critique feeling I have about this one. Originally, this was supposed to be a Patreon request. Real talk, by the way. This is from someone that wanted me to cover this movie for a long time. How do I know? Because every survey I submit to get an idea of someone's thought on the show, whenever I ask the question, what would you like to see more of in the future, or something to that extent, this particular person would write a review of Lost in Space 1998. And they would do that constantly. A review of Lost in Space 1998. A review of Lost in Space 1998. So much so, they decided to make a request through my Patreon page in July. I said, fine, I'll pencil you in for November. The reason why is because they want me to cover a terrible movie. And sometimes people want to see me angry and mad and shout and scream at the camera or tear it to shreds. But alright, it's a Patreon request. Sure, fine. 1 month after, I noticed that some of my Patreon members were having issues with their payments. They're either not going through or they're getting rejected. Some to the point they had to outright cancel their membership or create new accounts. This person was one of them. And I did not know about that until last month. Literally the week when Melanie finished the title card for this episode. I can't just scrap the episode. I can't just can it. Especially with all the good detail that she put into it. Especially given everything that she's been going through, too. And she's been really trying her damnedest to catch up with what's left over for this season. That is if I decide to continue it. So no, this is not a Patreon request. The person who requested this shall remain anonymous. So that way they don't have people going after him and saying, "How dare you send this to Morgan," and have him crack and explode. I am now doing this under my own accord. There's no turning back. So, why do I hate this movie so much? Why is it so deeply rooted in the bad memories of my life? Well, now, before I tell you that story, let me tell you this one. Lost in Space was a sci-fi show that debuted at the right time in the 1960s. Quintessentially, it was Swiss Family Robinson, but set in outer space. It was created by the master of disaster Irwin Allen and was a ratings hit back then, even surpassing that of Star Trek.
Yet, what I find ironically interesting is that years later, Lost in Space never got that full respect that other shows like Star Trek or The Twilight Zone had. And I have a theory as to why. The first season was in black and white, had a serious edge at times, and appealed to all audiences. However, Season 2 came with some major changes. The obvious being filmed in color, and the tone shifted to be more campy and juvenile. At the time, the show was airing simultaneously with the Adam West Batman series, and CBS wanted to imitate their style. As a result, the stories got outlandish, the action was over the top, and you had some bizarre choice of villains, from space pirates, Al Lewis wizards, and of all things, I kid you not, a killer slot machine. Season 3 tried to rectify that by leaning more towards adventure, but most of the episodes tended to be a bit more whimsical and comedic. Most notorious was where the Robinson family go to a planet full of live plants and vegetation, and one of the bad guys is a talking carrot.
Like all you denizens of the animal kingdom, you have no feelings for anyone but yourselves. Killer, that's what you are.
'Twas Mark Goddard who said it best. 7 years of Stanislavski method acting, and it led his talking to a carrot.
And while there were plans for Season 4, Lost in Space was unexpectedly cancelled. Though there are some theories and reasons as to why, a big one being 20th Century Fox that was funding the show was trying to recoup from some major bombs like Cleopatra and felt that the major expenses of Season 3 is what preventing it from continuing onwards, and even then no one was given official word as whether the show ended or not. Not even the audience, or the cast, or the crew. Regardless, this particular dip in quality of being in a more campier route is what keeps it from being an all-well-regarded deep classic among many.
And it's a shame because I enjoy Lost in Space. I really do. The first season is solid with some small hiccups. The second season is something of a minefield, but there are some gems here and there. And Season 3, it's an improvement at best. So the idea of a blockbuster-budgeted big screen adaptation for this is not a bad idea. It was a great way to create a new version that could improve the flaws and do something different. The 1990s was a perfect time given movies like The Addams Family and Mission Impossible were successful transitions and reinventions of classic TV shows. However, you had others like My Favorite Martian, The Beverly Hillbillies, and Wild Wild West that certainly didn't.
And where this movie lies is in neither category. To me personally, it's a movie so awful that it's just a thing that exists. A thing that exists to personally annoy me. But before we tear some up, let's go over some behind-the-scenes turf. New Line Cinema acquired the rights to the TV series and hired on Akiva Goldsman to write the screenplay as he was coming fresh off Schumacher's Batman movies. Goldsman revisited the original series and felt a more darker approach was the way to go. He wrote the draft 3 times to get the dialogue to sound less campy and silly.
No more monkey business.
They're fit as a fiddle and ready to fly.
I will tell you a joke. Why did the robot cross the road? Because he was carbon bonded to the chicken.
We have a lot of work to do.
Now, if you've finished hosing down the decks with testosterone, I suggest you come with me.
Gee, 3 drafts, you say? Well, they probably had a script doctor on hand, or maybe they were trying to aim for a more family-friendly approach. What am I saying? I should not connect to my enemy this way. In the directing chair was Stephen Hopkins, who worked with New Line Cinema before on Nightmare on Elm Street 5. What? But he directed Predator 2! And that's one of my favorite guilty pleasures. Big bad alien roaming around Los Angeles getting drug lords. That's my kind of dumb fun. In fact, I should be reviewing this instead of this crap. But I can't knock the guy down. I mean, he's kind of humble, and he made a couple of good movies here and there. Or can I? Alright, where to begin? Well, let's start with the Robinson family themselves. And I'm gonna get this right off my chest. They suck.
Now, the original family on the TV show was pleasant, but you could make the argument it was a representation of any family views of the 1960s. And granted, when something bad happened to them, you did feel bad and got engaged in how they would get out of the mess. The film is no different, taking a different approach by making the Robinson family more dysfunctional, which is ironic given most movies and TV shows in the 1990s reflected those attitudes. But here's where the movie fails where others at the time succeeded. As dysfunctional as, say, The Simpsons, The McAllisters, or even the Wrigleys would get, they still tried to function as a family unit. Even if they had different ideologies and interests, they still cared for each other and tried to get along. The movie instead uses this as some tool for the Robinsons to start off this way and uses it as a crutch to bring a lesson at the end in how families work together. But by the start, there is a lack of interest for any of them. The more I spend time with this family, the less invested I get. We are trapped with these people for 20 minutes, when I think it would have been more beneficiary to just get to the launch. And the performances don't help either. The late William Hurt as the father John is the workaholic, and most of the time he sounds sleepy or stoned off his ass.
Will, you're the most important thing in the world to me. Will Science Fair, reminder, apology video for Will. Saving a world of families if we can't save our own. I love you, wife.
In fact, the only time he actually does act is when he's shouting at others.
My family is on this ship and you will follow my orders, whether you agree with them or not. Is that clear, Major?
Mimi Rogers is wasted as the nagging Maureen. Heather Graham is just the generic hard-to-get Judy.
I'd be happy to discuss my dimensions, Doctor. Stay over dinner?
Who was it who said those who can't think, fight? I think that it was me.
Okay, save for one funny line. Lacey Chalbert is beyond annoying as the rebellious Sister Penny, and maybe it's just me, but doesn't it sound like her voice got adjusted to a higher pitch for some reason?
Do I spend my last night on Earth watching Mom and Dad pretend not to be fighting again? Or blow 10 years worth of allowance at the mall?
And finally, Jack Johnson as Will is...
I mean, once in a while he gives a good performance, but it's still kind of whiny.
Also for the ride is Major Don West, played in this version by Matt LeBlanc.
You had me worried, Doc. Nice to see you thawed.
You have a puzzling definition of a smooth ride.
Hey, remember that time when Joey from Friends was trying to get a movie career? I certainly don't.
Again, West in the show is your typical He-Man of the 1960s, but here's the difference. West was always on his toes and really looked after the Robinsons like his own family. It was cliche to have some fearless Flash Gordon-style hero to join the ride, but it helped balance out the upbeat family attitude. Here, it feels like West is just some action figure with no personality. He's the rebel that goes against orders just to save someone! I think he does. It's kind of hard to tell given the staging of this action scene. He will flirt with any woman that detects rejection, even if no means a damn thing to him. And the way he converses with Judy is just straight up creepy.
The cryosuit absorbed most of the electrical charge. You're lucky this wasn't your hide.
Doctor, is that concern I detect in your voice? Oh! Is there room in these tubes for two?
There's barely enough for you and your ego, Major.
I'm thinking this is your basic kiss for luck occasion.
Thinking? It's not really your strong suit, is it?
The original Dawn in the TV series was never this flirtatious. The number one thing on his mind was keeping the Robinsons together and protecting them. He was kind of like this secondary knight, almost opposite to the robot. He was never this questionably predatory. At least Dawn mattered to the group. This guy, on the other hand...
And to help them find their way home. That's how the constellations were born. Porky the Wise and Mighty Pig.
I don't know what's more cringy, the fact he's using Looney Tunes characters for a romantic moment, or the fact that this actually does pay off in the final act.
They drew shapes in the sky.
Look, flare!
To help them find their way home.
Thanks, movie. I should be reviewing Daffy Duck's Quackbusters instead.
Speaking of despicable, there's no bigger alteration to the table than Dr. Zachary Smith. In the series, Smith is a rogue agent hired on to sabotage the Robinson ship, but is trapped in the process. It's funny because Smith was intended to be a one-off character, yet the performance of Jonathan Harris won audiences over to the point he was kept alive.
How dare they treat me in that fashion? A man of my quality and erudition. Indeed!
Harris made this role iconic by altering his character to be more comedic. Consequently, he stole the show, and there are times when Smith got overexposed in later seasons. But the first season at least had the right balance between him and the Robinsons. He was devious, cunning, and while not too evil, there was a sense of menace to him, even if mischievous at times. In the film adaptation, there are some similar threads while containing some major changes. Smith in the movie is played by Gary Oldman and is a spy of, get this, a mutant terrorist group that hires him to sabotage the Robinson spacecraft so they can colonize the planet Alpha Prime that they are trying to get to instead of the humans. First off, the mutants are only seen in the first 4 minutes of the movie to serve some big action scene, and that's it. Sure, they get mentioned once in a while, but there you go. Second, is it just me, or do they look like the melty cheese face Sona aliens from Star Trek Insurrection? Which ironically also came out the same year as this movie. Third, it serves as a contrived reason for why West hates Smith, as in this version, West fought against them. It's not enough that Smith was hired on to kill the family, but now West has to have some intergalactic bigotry as an extra bonus feature just so he can have a major hatred against this guy.
Hey, enemy mine, anyone?
If I did have any positives, Gary Oldman does try to channel Harris's mannerisms at times. You can tell he's trying to respect the character, but feels weighted down by how the script wants it to be portrayed. So at times you get Oldman trying to be the original Dr. Smith.
Preserve the Robinson family. 2. Maintain the ship's systems.
Spare me the chatter, my steely centurion.
But most of the time, he tries to become this darker Dr. Evil Smith, which is called for in the script. To add insult to injury, there were moments in the original TV series when Dr. Smith would actually acknowledge his flaws and actually act like a decent human being. It was a little rare from time to time, but at least it made him sympathetic and easy to connect with.
I know I do bad things from time to time, but I don't mean it. It's just that I can't control myself.
This guy, on the other hand, well, I don't want to sound mean, but if at any given moment, some point in the movie, if he was shoved into an airlock and shot out into space, I would have zero cares for. It greatly clashes with any sense for why the Robinsons should even have him on afterwards throughout the rest of the movie. Sure, he compensates by trying to save their daughter Judy, but for the remainder of the movie, he just maintains his saboteur mood. It makes all the more baffling in moments when they bring him on to explore things like an abandoned spacecraft or even trust him when he still has a malicious meaner.
Then there is the robot.
Robot is online. 16 hours into mission, destroy Robinson's family.
I guess it's nice to see Dick Tufeld come back from the show to voice him. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. They actually have some of the original cast members come back and make little cameos here and there, but it doesn't really add much.
Even if you never saw the show, they wouldn't feel this significant. And unto fans, they would just feel like they were placed in for the sake of being an in-joke. June Lockhart gets it the worst, as Will's principal that tells his mother about what he's up to at school, and the little boy genius messes with the hologram communications.
Yeah, right.
We didn't even have lights. Will is terribly gifted.
The changing shape of education.
Fancy are the products of a truly brilliant mind.
June Lockhart. One of the biggest names of Hollywood's golden era. And here she is stooping herself to such a low comedic bit. You are a legend. You were on the Drew Carey Show. You were hilarious as Lewis's mother. You deserve better than this, June. You deserve better. Much better. Gah. And before you ask, where does Jonathan Harrison bill movie cameo? Not surprisingly, they turned down the offer. I'll elaborate on Moomie's reasons why, as it's a particular plot point, but Jonathan Harrison's reasoning is because he wanted to actually play Dr. Smith. And given that Gary Oldman was hired on, and they wanted Harris to play the guy that betrays him, Harris said that he would rather play Smith than be reduced to a cameo and reboot. Though it would have been nice to see the original Smith in the film, the problem is the amount of physical stunt work and demands that would require for such a production like this would lead me to wonder how Harris would be able to get around all those issues given how old he was at the time. Well, then again, he was able to play Smith one last time in the fabled promotional documentary Lost in Space Forever, so one can only wonder.
Oh, woe is me, alack and alas. Trapped again with this lame-brained lump without a clue as to where we are. Oh, the pain. The pain.
The robot was a key member of the family as he would develop a small personality as time carried on. It wouldn't be a dramatic switch, but you had this feeling the robot did comprehend certain emotions while still being a machine.
Say goodbye to the others for me.
I will. Goodbye.
Especially Will.
Yes, goodbye.
Farewell, Dr. Smith.
He was an important ally to the group as much as Crichton was in Red Dwarf. And yeah, I shouldn't praise the original show too much, given the robot did have some goofy moments from time to time.
Oh, my child, what shall we do? I am a cybernetic hero.
But how could you let this happen?
Because the show must go on.
And
tiptoe to the window, by the window, there's where I'll be.
Dr. Smith, I am frightened. Who is that awful man? Well, I never.
Patty cake, baker's man. Roll it and pat it and mark it with S. Put it in the oven for Dr. Smith and Major West.
But at least that's tolerable compared to what they do here.
Much like in the show, the robot is reprogrammed by Smith to kill the Robinsons and mess with the ship's navigational systems, to which Will manages to reprogram the mechanoid for good purposes. Yet here, they take it a step further. In the movie, Will at first manages to control the robot at one point to mimic the kid's mannerisms.
Some fragments.
Sorry.
And later when they lose it, Will reveals a backup file to rebuild them from scratch, complete with a mentality similar to his.
I put my mind inside of yours.
Aha. That explains this warm, fuzzy feeling when I think about baseball.
And it was here. Right here, I realized why they made this particular change.
On the TV show, the robot often gave Smith a sassy attitude, which made some really hilarious banter.
It is impossible to reason with you, therefore I must take you aboard by force.
Stay away from me, you addle-pated armor bearer! I'm not going! I'm burning up alive and you bring me a cake, you pot-bellied prankster! It's not my birthday!
You could pretend. Please, your hot breath is steaming up my sensor panels.
Bah! Are you finally through with him, you silly sloth?
Again, given how the robot would develop certain elements over time, it would make sense for a TV show, especially one that has loose continuity. Now, in a movie, that would be less believable given the 2-hour length. So let's have Will program him to share similar sentiments just to keep those iconic beats to please the fans.
Mom always said I should try to make new friends.
Oh, ha ha.
And I wouldn't mind the dialogue so much if it was done on a level that didn't feel so juvenile in execution. I get it, they're trying to also reach a family-friendly audience, but you don't have to stoop this low. I mean, did Wall-E do that? No. Wall-E just used little bleeps and sound effects to get across robot emotions and certain communications. That is what made Wall-E unique and had mass appeal compared to what you're doing right here. And then there is Blarp. Alright. There are some things that the original show was not perfect about. Not just season 2 and 3, especially in season 1, and that one little annoyance was a creature named Debbie. Who is Debbie, you ask? What is Debbie? Why is Debbie? You know what they say? A video clip is worth 1,000 words.
Stop that!
Yeah. There was a reason you didn't see much of Debbie in season 2 and 3.
As always, I welcome a fresh change, and the concept of Blarp I can get behind to a certain point. The original concept involved a monkey and dragon hybrid that actually could do some camouflage. It was meant to be a pure puppet, but given it didn't work as well on set, they had it replaced by a CGI effect at the very last minute.
Yes, it's a terrible design and obviously not that well rendered, but... oh, here's where it hurts me the most. This digital motion capture puppet was crafted by the Jim Henson's Creature Shop.
I will give credit for trying new technology, given this was something similar to the Waldo character from the Jim Henson Hour. But something I realized later in time is that a digital effect will not look as good unless you have the right rendering software at the time, or at least depending on how much you use the computer effects as possible in your film. Jurassic Park still holds up because of the seamless blend between practical and digital is in the right spots. Yeah, it's a little easy to spot, but the textures and the way they're utilized is just too perfect to even consider where it begins and ends for the two. And ILM knew that something like this was massively important to Spielberg's dinosaur magnum opus, and they took time to perfect it and make it look good. They even had someone on the side, Phil Tippett, to help them out to know exactly how these bees should move, act, and look. Here, it is such a last-minute switch, and you can tell given the texture doesn't look fully complete. And man, does it stick out.
Little thing was hungry.
Oh, please, Joey. This wasn't the first time you acted against a chip that had to be consulted with special effects before. Is it guilty to say I'd rather own a Blu-ray copy of that? Compared to the $11 on Amazon I had to get for this?
If that wasn't bad enough, from what I researched, this movie was intended to carry over 700 visual effects shots, which was a lot at the time, so the work had to be split between different effects companies. This is why the only thing consistent is the practical miniature work, because you can see how the digital work keeps changing from time to time in terms of render quality, and its look. Even right down to dropping and trimming some scenes at the 11th hour just because they couldn't get the visual effects to be completed for the April 1998 release day. And this was like really, really close to the wire. If the production was given a few more months to work out some of the visuals, maybe I wouldn't be so hard on the effects here, but for a science fiction blockbuster that relies on grand and futuristic imagery, it sticks out like a sore thumb compared to some of the others that came before and after this one.
Can we at least get one thing right in this movie?
Better candidates. Hell, even my own family can't stand me.
Shut up, Major.
Oh. Alright, so they got the Jupiter spaceship down to a T. I mean, yeah, it's digitalized, but hey, it looks pretty close to the original. It honors it very well, and... now it looks like a frisbee designed by H.R. Giger. Thanks. At this point, I'd rather cover Alien 3, but... no. No. It's too late for me. If you haven't noticed by now, I have not mentioned one detail about the storyline or plot. And that's very much because... there isn't one! Or at least, what they try to make with it, there isn't.
The structure tries to follow the storyline of the first 5 episodes, but it just comes off feeling uneven. The first 40 minutes try to follow the beats of the first episode, with the Robinsons going into outer space to explore a new planet, and Dr. Smith messing things up under order. The reason in the show was because the Robinsons were destined to be the first family unit to explore a planet next to the star Alpha Centauri. In the movie, they're sent over to a planet, Alpha Prime, see what they did there, to make a transporter gate to escape an Earth being threatened by pollution and ozone depletion.
Honestly, the Earth looks fine to me, so I don't see why they want to get off the planet anytime sooner.
Still, once the Robinson crew and Smith get launched, it's all up in the air. At one point, they do discover a mysterious spacecraft similar to one in the second episode, but here's the major difference. On the show, a lot of advantage was taken of by this, with Smith's actions against one of the extraterrestrials actually going into effect in a later episode, with his meddling being put on trial. And yeah, goofy as it sounds, it surprisingly worked. Here, it's just a dumb excuse for a big action set piece with a bunch of alien spiders. But wait! One of them scratches Dr. Evil Smith, causing him to be infected, and even steals a part that causes the robot to revert back to his normal cold self. So there was a purpose to that set piece after all! Just provide 2 contrived plot elements leading into a bigger plot contrivance. Again, much like on the show, they do crash on a planet whose environment is really out of whack. At night it becomes winter, and by the daytime it goes into a summer-like environment.
So at first, it does feel like it's respecting the fantasy elements of the series, but here's what you didn't get. A race of giant Cyclops monsters, an ancient civilization connected to them, a sea of ice, Penny befriending an invisible entity that can turn malicious if rubbed the wrong way, a wishing device that brings forth a creepy-as-hell Universal Studios monster, the Forbidden Planet robot, and Michael Rainey. All of that is far more creative compared to what we get here.
For the final half of the movie, the Robinsons discover the planet is being mucked around by a giant time bubble. Yes, I know everyone's thinking exactly what the solution at this point should be. John and Wes investigate to find, of all things, an older version of his son, played by Jared Harris, who created a time machine from the ship's part to try and go back to the moment before they left Earth to stop the takeoff. Alright, time travel stories are not uncommon here. There's a good handful of Lost in Space episodes that handle this well, like the Time Merchant episode, where Smith tried to prevent himself from going on to the Jupiter 2.
Now, the time travel element here could work, but it's not properly set up well.
Granted, there are smaller hints early on, but it doesn't feel focused. It tries to get the characters out of the way as fast as possible that any mention of Will's time machine just feels like a cliff note.
On top of that, I don't want to knock down Jared Harris because he is a good actor, and yes, he's physically here, but his voice isn't.
Today, I will change history.
Apparently, at some particular moment, they decided to have the ingenious idea to dub over his lines with a different actor. While no exact reason is quaintly given, the supposed story is that the filmmakers thought his voice was not the right pitch and decided to have him get vocally replaced by a different actor. So while he's there, his voice is not. And if that was the case when you auditioned him, which I hope you did, could you just replace him with a different actor? Hell, you could have gotten Bill Mumy from the original Lost in Space. Yeah. Older Will from the TV show meeting younger Will of the movie. To any fan, that wouldn't save the film, but it would have been kind of cool. But oh, remember earlier how I said Bill turned down the cameo of being in this film? Yeah, here's why. Because the plot involved older Will meeting younger Will, he wanted to play older Will from the future, but the filmmakers wouldn't allow that because they felt it'd be too on the nose. You're doing Lost in Space, not Frank Hebert's Dune. Have fun with it. Fun. You know, fun, explosions in space, aliens, creatures, not going to another planet just to save the human race and then get sidetracked by some evil spy that causes you to stop at this other spaceship and then go to another planet and dick around on there for a good hour of the rest of the film. And you know, maybe it's a good thing they didn't get Bill Mumy, given how stupid Will is in this film.
Will is doing all these things just for the sake of attention for his father, who neglects him under his own work. It doesn't help when Will tries to do something to please Daddy, but his father just fails to respect him or gets easily distracted. Hell, the kid goes as far to destroy a planet to go back in time, for crying out loud. Where did he lose the math on the consequence of damages he would cause under that kind of thing? But oh, that is nothing compared to one scene that boils my brainstem. Dr. Smith coaxes Will to explore the planet, and for a while, it feels like classic Lost in Space with the two exploring, until this happens.
Tell you about life. Around every corner, monsters wait. I know, I am one. We monsters have no fear in devouring little boys. You can't protect us. I can.
Enable gun for all users.
Voice print confirmed.
A brief lesson in survival, on this world or any other.
I know this may seem like something small, but I have so many problems with this scene. When you're adapting a TV show and making certain alterations to certain characters, you better damn respect the original source, what you're basing them from. And yeah, the course of Lost in Space, Will and Dr. Smith would become the biggest iconic characters of the show because they were paired so much together for their wandering, meandering around so many different planets. And here's the closest you get to becoming even an inch to what Lost in Space was. Exploring different worlds. Just far, vast worlds. Yeah, Swiss Family Robinson in space, but here's the big thing. Will Robinson was not this stupid. If you're going to make him this big science prodigy that just wants to have his cats in the cradle moment with his dad, why make him this naive? Why make him this dumb? Because kids are not that stupid. They're not that stupid to mistrust someone this dangerous and deadly. And even if they are with someone dangerous and deadly, they should know better. We were taught the fairy tales, man. Little Red Riding Hood, Hansel and Gretel. We know. So to see this brilliant young character get turned into a stooge, just at the drop of a millisecond, just irks me. But oh, there's the double twist of Dr. Evil Smith, super genius, that coaxes Will into giving him the gun just so he could hold him hostage. When there's so many other creative ways in the writing process, you could get those two from point A to point B. You could have Smith betray Will a little sooner down the road. Like maybe Will doesn't realize it until at the very, very end when Smith goes through this plan, or subtly doesn't fully show it. Dr. Smith is more intelligent than that. He is not this direct or stupid. Okay, in later seasons he was a goof, but in earlier seasons he was more cutting. He was a plotter. He knew exactly what he was doing, even if it blew up in his face. This is just a complete act of desperation. This one tiny moment, this one tiny scene is just pure shock value to the viewer just to add a level of intensity that's just absolutely not needed. And given where this goes, south for the winner in the final third, it's just a little beat added in just for the sake of the audience to go, "Oh no, kid in trouble, what are we gonna do?" Well, when you're stuck with these characters that are so unlikable, so uneasy, you just want to get away from them. You just want to get out of the theater and see a better movie. And you're stuck with them for so long that the moment evil bad guy holds unlikable kid hostage, what's the point to care? What's the point to exist? Why even matter about all these folks bulging around on this little planet here? We've been stuck with them for a good hour of their bickering and annoyance and intolerance. I ask, why in the world would we even care? Why, when so much has been changed, so much has been altered, so much has been undone, just for the sake of making it darker, making it look good, when in actuality it just falters and fails on every single level? And I get it. You want to update the source. You want to make it unique, different, and interesting. And sure, there's a Netflix reboot that did that too, and even though I stayed on for about 2 episodes, this on the other hand, it just makes you... Gods, you Neanderthal ninny, how dare you sit there and stuff your cheeks like a chipmunk to its acorns? Are you enjoying my pain?
Oh, Morgan. Let's not forget, I had to sit through Prehysteria 2 and 3 for this show. I had to sit through Pet Shop for this show. There's only one thing I have left in this world. Your pain. It's delicious. Needs salt. But it's delicious.
But oh, the stupid doesn't stop there.
Oh, not only did Will survive in the future, but so did Dr. Evil Smith, who mutated due to the spider bite. I could question how all this time it did not cross Will's mind to allow this thing to live. My focus is on how the entire galaxy didn't explode once future Evil Smith touched the past one.
And before you ask what became of the female characters, well...
Popcorn. Wait. Popcorn for kids.
Come on.
Oh my God! They're dead! Oh my God!
Take it easy, Paul. Take it easy.
Okay, they did have a bigger role in the final third, but it got cut down.
Originally, the idea behind the time bubble is that the planet would be separated into separate time zones, with Penny chasing after Blarp into one of them. It would lead her to discover a giant and older version of Blarp, and yeah, it was a major plot point for them to discover the different time bubbles, but you know what? It did something for them, and it led to a cool-looking monster. Even in the original ending, they had the thing join them. Just look at this thing. It's big. It's awesome. It's cool. And the fact it was cut just because test screening audiences were so bored and dulled out of their mind with the whole time bubble thing that you could have worked this in. It could have been in there regardless. You could have just dropped the whole thing and had them go through the time bubble thingy and discover this thing. And the more painful thing, too, is that this was already in the TV adverts and trailers, so why? Why?
And? This thing is much more cooler than the actual Blarp. I mean, it reminds me of Ludo from Labyrinth. I have a bit of a soft spot for giant, beastly-looking things that have a soft heart, and... hey, wouldn't it be cool if this thing was palling around with the family Robinsons? It would certainly be a lot more unique than the green snot bubble that's attached to them. Hey, if that thing still exists, is there a way I can own it? No, I'm not kidding. I actually want that thing. It's too cool to see it go to waste. But come to think of it, Lacey Chalba being plowed around with 2 space chimps. It is kind of ironic given where her destiny would lie with a certain Nickelodeon show.
You know, maybe you could stay with us.
Really? Oh, I thought you'd never ask.
Okay, hear me out. If it was Eliza Thornberry and Giant Blarp... No, that'd be still pretty awesome. Still, in the movie's case, talk about a missed opportunity!
No, instead we get a dumb anticlimax where future evil Spider-Smith is carrying a bunch of baby spiders and plans to use Future Will's time machine to conquer Earth. I ask, how did Future Will not come to realize this? Honestly, the fight with Spider-Smith is so fast that if you blink once, you'd miss it. He just intimidates Future Will, and his dad unleashes Smith's babies too early so they can snack on him. And I know some are arguing at this point the time travel element is essential, and yeah, it is. Just so Future Will can send his father back to a moment right before the Jupiter 2 is destroyed while they're escaping so the family can be sent in a different direction. Oh, and bonus point, this trip is one person and one way only.
Maybe if the whole time travel thing was done for a different movie with father and son, it could work. And yeah, Lost in Space has done some time travel before, albeit better episodes. The best one that comes to mind is Flight into the Future, which shares similar beats to this movie. Smith, Will, and the robot get sent 270 years into a strange future to become pure relics of their own descendants. Yeah, it's silly at times, but the mystery and serious atmosphere benefit it better than what is truly utilized here. I mean, they could have gone to different planets, or fight the giant Cyclops monsters, or what about those mutants they established at the beginning of the movie? They'd become absolutely nothing. Though, according to Goldsmith's word on the commentary, they were saved for a sequel, which makes it even stupid. Why set up something and just make it a pure waste for something that will obviously never be if you're starting a franchise? You could do anything. Anything. It's space. Lost in space. You could do so much. There's a big playground of stuff to go around here, and given the opportunities and things they've done on the show, there's just so much creativity you can pick from and do. I get it. Time travel is an easy aspect to connect with. Time after time, Back to the Future, Somewhere in Time. You don't exist in my universe. Badger off. Still hate that movie, and don't change my mind over it. Don't. But would you rather watch it again compared to this film? I'd rather watch neither. To see everything get jettisoned just for a father and son storyline when it should be all of the family? All of the family? And when they're already this unlikable? I could so care less at this point.
And the ironic thing? The final 5 minutes are the closest to a pure Lost in Space moment. With the planet breaking up, they fly the Jupiter 2 through the center of the planet, and it's the only good scene that carries a sense of tone consistent to the show. The effects look cool, the ship flies past the core and some running water, and there's a sense of intensity here that feels lacking to anything prior. It is hands down the only bit of engagement that truly feels something close to as good, wholesome, and fun that the original show was.
And it took them 1 hour. 1 hour and 57 minutes to accomplish that.
Despite its $70 million budget, the movie did moderately okay at the box office, and this was New Line Cinema's jumping point for a whole new franchise. The problem was that it wasn't as profitable as they hoped. They saw this as their Star Wars, and it failed to even ignite that. Critics didn't like it, audiences were beyond mixed, and Apollo 44's reimagining of the Lost in Space theme based on the Season 3 orchestration by John Williams?
Everybody hang on.
Yeah, that might have been a Billboard hit overseas, but don't get me started. That is shit on toast, and I stand by it. If this was intended to be a big franchise jumper, they really, really should have focused on sharpening up the characters. They really should have focused on making a plot and story that clicks and works. And yeah, even though there were some elements that were from the show, like the time travel element, it would have been better to do something a little more simplistic. Why not use the mutants? Why not use something that was so significantly iconic to the series and somehow work it in a way that's been never seen before? No, no, no. All we get is this uneven mess. This big, loud, noisy, flashy blockbuster that is designed by a really cool art director who worked on stuff like Terry Gilliam movies that is sadly gone to waste. I hate this movie. I hate it. Not as much as Wired, but it's definitely in the top 5. Absolutely in the top 5. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of life, and for all means purpose, you're better off getting lost somewhere else.
You know what's worse than a bad movie? A bad movie experience. Yeah, I know I talked about the Michael Bay produced Turtles and how that affected, but no. No. Nothing can compare to the absolute experience I had with this thing when I first saw it as a child. When I was 8 or 9, and at that time my parents were divorced, I had visitations. And I went to see my dad on one of the weekends, and the day after my arrival, I got very sick. And so his solution was not to give me Robitussin and chillax, or send me home so the whole house is nice and safe. No. He decided to send me to a hospital with a bunch of doctors. And once I stepped in the doorway, I don't know what happened, but all I remember is a bunch of them putting me onto a stretcher, attaching butterfly needles into my arms. I'm just trying to comprehend what's going on. I just get knocked out. I black out for a few. I wake up in a room, a little dazed, trying to make sense of what's going on. A few hours later, I get discharged. I never found out what I had, never found out what kind of illness. But as it turns out later, when my mom brought me to actual doctors, it was just the common cold. And all that was him just wanting to keep me for the weekend. And his big apology was, let me cheer you up with a movie, son. This one. Yeah. Imagine, if you will, you're 8 or 9 years old, sick as a dog. This plays on the TV screen. You just think to yourself, is this really a movie? Am I really seeing this? Or is it all just one big fever dream? What was with that big action scene with the giant hamster spaceball thingies? Why are they going into space? Why does the sister sound like a chipmunk? Will they have a spaceship full of CGI spiders? Did Dr. Smith just turn into a giant humanoid creature? I was just so in and out of it. And there were moments where I felt like I was going to legit die. And this movie kind of killed me. It almost did. I could have seen a good movie. I could have seen anything, but this. This. And every time I think about this, the first thing that pops into my head, the very image, is me. In bed, slowly fading away, while the images of this thing pursue to my retina. It's one thing to see a bad movie in theaters and be with people, because they can cheer, applaud, and laugh at stuff. But when it's just you alone, dealing with this monstrosity, you don't know what to do. Then years later, you talk about it, just to get your little ventilations out. The only only thing you can do is show exactly how you feel about the whole thing. And just vent and frustrate and deal with your emotion and capulation and crush it and tuck your problems down to a size you can handle them. Oh, you have given me so much pain. Oh, the pain. The pain. Safety first. Oh, no, you're not. You're not done yet. I kind of feel empty right now. Bella, is what I do really worth it? I mean, when I was so young back then, I felt like I could take on the world. So much I could do. Why do I do these things? It's a little different as I get older. I guess I'll never really know the answer. I mean, look at it this way. 33 years old, it's been 10 years. This is just childish now. I mean, what am I doing with myself? I should be publishing books, traveling the world. But no, I'm here. I'm here. Maybe it's time just to face the music and grow up.
But there must be some exceptions.
What exceptions?
Your parents, Major West.
How do I know for sure that they're so special?
Will, what has happened to you?
Let's just say I'm growing up, Dr. Smith. There comes a time in every kid's life when he has to get rid of illusions, like outgrowing fairy tales about knights fighting dragons. Let's just say I'm outgrowing my childhood.
Nobody is to blame. Nobody is ever to blame. Don't be in such a hurry to grow up. Dear old you. It isn't really worth it.
It's not time to make a change. Just relax, take it easy. You're still young, that's your fault. There's so much you have to know. I was once like you are now, and I know that it's not easy to be calm when you found something going on. But take your time, think a lot. Why, think of everything you've got. You will still be here tomorrow, but your dreams may not. How can I try to explain? When I do, it turns away again. It's always been the same old story. From the moment I could talk, I was ordered to listen. Now there's a way, and I know that I have to go away. I know I have to go. Times that I've cried, keeping all the things I knew inside. It's hard, but it's harder to ignore it. If they were right, I'd agree, but it's them they know, not me. Now there's a way, and I know that I have to go away. I know I have to go.
I think I'm done.